The following program is intended for a mature listening audience. Graphic and explicit language may be heard at times. The views expressed and opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily express those of this station or sponsors. Listeners are advised that neither the station nor owners and agents will be held liable for the content of this program. Rebroadcast, redistributed, or reused without the express written permission without the host or producer is not allowed. You are listening to Family Spirit International.
Hey, Blaine, what's up? What's up?
What's up? It's Monday night, ready to rock another Family Spirit International.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask some questions, and they're like funny ghost jokes. Everybody knows I love dad jokes, so here we go. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Yep, let's do it.
What's a ghost's favorite makeup to wear?
I don't know. What is his favorite makeup to wear?
Mascara.
That's good. Yeah.
What's a ghost with a broken leg called?
I don't know. What is a ghost with a broken leg called?
A hopping goblin. How funny are
God,
these?
that's
Okay.
good.
So you see, I'm feeling my Cheerios, and there's a reason for that, guys. We are going to have Mike Ricksecker tonight. He's a great friend. Gosh, he's so knowledgeable. One of my favorite people. He's a great author. He's written so many books. I just, wow. And he's done some really cool filming lately. One of them was a project that you were on, Blaine.
Yeah, no. It was a
So,
mission unexplained.
yeah, go ahead. Mission Unexplained. So Mike Ricksecker is the author of the Amazon best-selling A Walk in the Shadows, and it's a complete guide to shadow people. And now that's really fascinating. He's
Yes, it is.
eight historic paranormal books and the esoteric tomb Alaska's Mysterious Triangle. He's appeared on multiple TV shows and programs, including the Travel Channel's The Alaska Triangle, History Channel's Ancient Aliens, one of my favorite ever, Discovery Plus, Fright Club, Animal Planet's The Haunted, and the Bio Channel's My Ghost Story, and more. See, he could add on there Mission Unexplained, right? Mike also
Mm-hmm.
produces his own internet supernatural based shows on the Haunted Road Media YouTube channel. And he is the producer and
Right on.
director of the docu-series. The Shadow Dimension, which is available on several streaming platforms. And for more than 6 years, he hosted Edge of the Rabbit Hole live stream show, and he hosts the Connecting the Universe interactive class. And I really love that. It's fascinating. The Haunted
Nice.
Road Media is also known his own paranormal and supernatural book publishing and video company, representing a number of paranormal authors, winning the award for excellent media in the paranormal field at the 2019 Shockfest Film Festival. Mike's historic paranormal articles have been published in the Baltimore Sun, Paranormal Underground magazine, and he previously wrote an Oklahoma City paranormal column for the Examiner between 2010 to 2014. He's also been featured on the Oklahoman, the Frederick News Post, Marshall University's The Parthenon, and Louisiana State University Civil War Book Review. He now hosts many of these articles along with informational videos and learning courses on the Connect Universe portal website. He's a native of Cleveland, Ohio, and he's an Air Force veteran with a degree in simulation programming and is an avid baseball fan. I didn't know he liked baseball. Here we go. Here's Mike. Oh, let's try it again. There we go. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike, welcome to the show.
Can you hear us, Mike? Can you hear us?
He's not muted or anything that I could see.
He's saying something, but I don't think he's hearing himself. Okay, he's going to work on that. So what I've been looking at her is
Okay.
that did it.
There
There we
it
go.
is.
Did it?
Yeah. Just unplugged it and plugged it back in, and there we go.
That's it.
That was it.
Gotta love technology, man.
You're right.
Yeah. So everybody in the chat room's buzzing, and yeah, technical difficulties, Becky. That's right.
Yeah, it happens.
My phone did a thing today. It decided it wasn't on the network anymore, and neither was my
Mhm.
husband's.
Yeah.
And I just turned the
Yeah.
thing off, turned it on. We're good to go.
Yeah, I'm on the road right now, so this is kind of all makeshift. So yeah, got it to work though.
We
We're good
got
to
it
go.
done.
It's all
Yep.
good.
Sweet. So I'm so excited and curious about talking with you about the Alaskan Triangle.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that, it's not just the Bermuda Triangle out there. There's the Alaskan Triangle, the Dragon Triangle. There's so many things. Deb Lance is saying hello to you.
Hi, Deb.
Yeah, a lot of people are
Mhm.
chiming in.
So you
So,
beat me before I want to ask you something, Lee.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I want to know. I know you're a big fan like me. I played baseball in college at Alabama back in
Right.
82, 83, and 84. Then I graduated. I went in the Air Force.
That's kind of like me. I lettered in baseball in high school in Ohio, and
Yeah.
went to the Air Force directly after. But I did play in an amateur league in Anchorage, Alaska, which was a lot of fun. And then
bet.
I gave it one last shot when I was about 24 years old, and I had a tryout with the Major League Scouting Bureau. And there were a couple of different teams that were there scouting, and
Right on.
I didn't make it. But yeah, it was fun. I loved baseball. Still do.
Yeah, I got drafted 3 times, and I promised my grandfather that I'd finish school, get a degree,
Mm-hmm.
and so I could have played. I got drafted my junior year in high school by Toronto, but it 35th, 36th round, so I never been seen the show there.
Yeah.
My senior year in high school, I got drafted by Milwaukee, and it was still high rounds. Like I think the highest I got in there was like 24th, 25th. Then the next year, I got drafted by the Yankees. My first year at Bama. But
Okay.
I hated the Yankees. So I couldn't go play for them.
Yeah.
I'm a Red Sox guy.
So am I. I'm a Red Sox guy. That'd be hard to play for the Yankees.
Yeah, I just could do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't play Little League. I wouldn't play Little League on a team called the Yankees. I actually got myself traded because I wouldn't play it on that team.
Oh my goodness.
All right, let's get on to the triangle of Alaskan Triangle.
Yes.
Yeah, Alaska Triangle. Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. Like you were saying, Lee, a lot of people don't realize there are these other triangle areas around the world. Everybody thinks of Bermuda. And in fact, with Alaska, a lot of people for a while called it Alaska's Bermuda Triangle, which is kind of silly. But yeah, now people have recognized it's just the Alaska Triangle. We had the television show that lasted a couple seasons there, the Alaska Triangle. But yeah, Dragon Triangle, you got Bridgewater in Massachusetts, the Lake Michigan Triangle. When I was out in Ireland last year, they were telling me at one of the castles that there is actually a triangle in that area connecting all the different castles and the paranormal and supernatural activity that happens there.
Really?
Yeah. So it's really, really fascinating how you have all these different areas of the world with all of these strange phenomena, high strangeness, that sort of thing that's occurring. And really what it is you have the Earth's natural magnetic energy from the core, that's rising up through like the mantle, the crust, and it's interacting with different metals and minerals that are trapped within there. And depending on what it hits on its way up, it creates different electromagnetic fields. And so that's what's happening in these locations. They have high concentrations of certain metals and minerals that are creating these different fields that are, of course, then generating the different supernatural and strange phenomena.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was about to ask you. You answered it for me. Is a magnetic field affecting these areas? Because I know different parts of the world I've been in that the the gravity and the magnetic pull is different in some places than it is
Yeah.
in other places. I can feel it stronger in certain places. Other places, it felt like I was losing my magnetic energy from it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly palpable. And what's fascinating about Alaska is during the mid 1960s, 1965, the U.S. Department of the Interior did a survey up there covering about 100,000 square miles. Now, Alaska's over 600,000 square miles. It's 2.5 times the size of the state of Texas, but they covered 100,000 square miles, which is still pretty significant. And within that area, they detected what they called 5 different magnetic characters, and within those they detected negative anomalies. So this was an area that
mm-hmm.
they already knew, had some really, really strange electromagnetic activity to it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something about castles
Mm-hmm.
having these types of activities. I started doing paranormal investigation away from my family. I'd done things with my family off and on, but being able to investigate away from my family in an independent manner with new friends, I was in France
Mm-hmm.
and I did an investigation at Versailles. And
Oh, nice.
I've talked to people, about this, but I'm telling you, I was going down the hall of mirrors and
Mm-hmm.
I had a time slip. I don't know. All of a sudden, I saw people dancing and people were walking by me,
Mm-hmm.
and I smelled them first because they didn't have deodorant and things, and I'd smell bo and flowers, bo and
Lee,
flowers.
you needed to tell me this story about 3 or 4 months ago before I was, prepared with my latest book, Travels Through Time, because I cover at the very beginning of the time slips chapter, the
Really?
Versailles time slip with
What?
Eleanor Jourdain and Annie Moberly from the
Mm-hmm.
late 1800s. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I
So,
didn't
Yep.
know that. I've been talking
yeah.
about this now for God, I was there in '87,
Oh,
and,
wow.
I
Okay.
talked about this when I first met you, but I just didn't think anybody would believe me.
I,
I
it,
talk
I
about
mean,
it,
we
people
we
roll
first
their
met
eyes.
what 12 years ago or something like
Yeah,
that. So yeah, that would have slipped my mind since then.
yeah.
But yeah, it's a big part of my new book, Travels Through Time, is talking about the time slip phenomena, and I'm not surprised there at Versailles because that experience has happened before. Yeah, so I'll have to add that to the second
Mm-hmm.
edition whenever that
Oh,
comes out.
yeah, if you think about it, I'll be
Hmm.
glad to tell you more, but, the bed Marie Antoinette's bed looked like a toddler bed.
Oh yeah, they were a little
Yeah.
So
shorter back then.
tiny, so tiny, and, it looked like there were, people that were cleaning up and running around, buzzing around with
Yeah.
food and drinks and stuff, and then all of a sudden it was gone. But I blinked my eyes several times, like you do when you see a shadow person,
Hmm.
thinking, okay, this is going to go away, and it didn't go
Yeah.
away. So,
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, well, we will talk some more about that for sure.
okay, I'm just glad that it happened to someone else. That I would.
Hmm.
It happened again at Normandy Beach too,
Oh, really?
and
What'd you see at Normandy?
you had that happen too.
Yes. The reason I went to Normandy, my grandfather was in the invasion of
Oh,
Normandy.
yeah,
I went. Plus, I'm military, so I went honored. All the ones that gave their
sure.
ultimate sacrifice there, and it was weird because it was like the beach is clear, but all of a sudden you hear the
Yeah.
boats coming. You hear the fire. You hear the Germans behind you firing coming from the boats, and then the water turned red.
Oh,
As
wow.
quick as it turned red, it was back just blue water
Yeah.
again. And she's right. At Versailles, um,
Oh, you
I
had that
got
happen too, didn't you?
yeah. Oh yeah. With Versailles, it was like you could hear like old timey music, like from medieval times, like when
Hmm.
Marie Antoinette was there, and like you said, there was people scuffling with food, and it's like nobody down the halls, nobody. But
Mm.
I think it's me and one other person that was in there, and they didn't see nothing. So
I
but that's
was
pretty interesting.
I was with a team of people, but when that happened, I didn't see anybody else around me,
No.
and I was in the
Hmm.
Hall of Mirrors, and everybody was dancing, and I could see the sway of the dresses and everything. But on Normandy Beach, I was actually going through with a bunch of people. We were going all these different places, enjoying ourselves, and I wanted to go into the caverns behind us, where all the guns had been, and
Right.
I couldn't move. When it started to happen, I started smelling like gunpowder,
Mm.
and then
Hmm.
I started hearing like, you know, ringing in your ears,
Oh,
and
okay. The tinnitus. Yeah.
I laid down on the little bitty pebbles. There's no sand; they're mostly pebbles, and I had long hair back then too, and my hair got caught up in those rocks, and then I really couldn't move. But then I started seeing blood coming in between the pebbles because I was kind of laying down
Mm,
trying to. I mean, I was literally like trying to block myself. You know, like I felt like something was happening. And I
right.
was under fire. And then when I saw the blood coming around, I did feel like somebody pushed through me, like when you're on a subway and somebody hits you, and that kind of thing. I felt that, but now that I think about it, I wonder if I got shot, that kind of thing.
It's possible. I mean, you could have actually channeled somebody's personal energy from that time frame. You know, when these time
Yep.
slips happen, I mean, it's all, resonance, energy, vibration, and you have two moments in time that are basically resonating at the same frequency for just a moment. So it makes sense, especially with you, Lee, that you would tap into somebody's personal energy from that moment as the moment is resonating into your moment in time.
When I went to the Deep South Paracomic-Con last year, we're going this weekend, so it's been just about a year. We went to a civilian marksmanship program, the CMP, that's near, where was the Paracon last year, Blaine? You know what I'm talking about. It's near Talladega.
Last year it
The,
was down
yeah,
in, yeah.
it's in Alabama. Anyway, so there we
Okay.
were, and I wanted to get a weapon. I wanted to get, and they had a bunch of these that had been remodeled and refurbished and things, and M1 Grands. And I went through and I just closed my eyes and I searched for it, I could see it even though my eyes was
Mhm.
closed. And Matt was like, "You don't want that one. It's more of a wall hanger." It's like, okay. He said, try it again, turn around. And he mixed them all up and I did it again, picked the same gun again. 4 times later, he said, I guess it's meant for you to have the gun. Well, they were able to look up the serial number and they were able to tell me that it was in the Asian theater
Hmm.
and it was also in Europe. And then my husband ordered my grandfather's papers. Come to find out, he was injured, almost mortally injured, on Normandy Beach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a connection.
So I didn't know that, but I really hope that we can find out more information about what happened. He was hit in the chest,
Hmm.
and he eventually died like 3-4 years later from
Oh,
the
wow.
injuries he
Okay.
sustained. So
Complications over the years.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about time slips and then interdimensional phasing. Um, that's something that we've been talking about several weeks now. We've had a lot of people on that have talked about things they've seen,
Hmm.
and almost in a manner of a cycle. They think they see
Yeah.
themselves at a younger age, or Blaine and I've talked several times about a young lady that inherited a house, and there was a child running down the hallway screaming, and she called us for help. And at long last, after great investigation, because it was just weird, getting the neighbors involved and everything, and as it was all finished, it was herself. She had something very traumatic
Yeah.
happen in that house. So is that how that works? I mean, time slips, or what's the
It
difference
certainly
between?
can. Like a really interesting story that was relayed to me a couple years ago when I was on a different show was, a young man when he was a child, he had walked into the kitchen. He saw, what he thought at the time was a tall, dark, hooded figure, and scared him to death. He ran out of there. So, kind of a shadow person type story. But later on, when he was older, he was in the kitchen at the table making a sandwich. He's wearing a hoodie and turns around and he sees this shorter shadow being walk into the room and then boom, dart right back out. And he realizes, oh my gosh, this whole time it was myself. I just saw myself at two different moments. And so, yeah, a lot of times, when we talk, like doppelgangers. I mean, really, we're talking like some sort of time slip, when you're seeing yourself at a different point in
That's so
time, that
cool.
sort of thing. Yeah, it really is. The whole thing with interdimensional phasing is, really you're getting that energy shifting out of place. So, kind of the best picture you can think of it for those that have a little bit of a math background. When we talk like a sine wave shift, and you have those curves kind of shifting off to the side like that. That's essentially what it is, where you start seeing multiples of a person doing the exact same thing, and they get chalked up as like doppelganger stories and things like this. And it's like, there's something happening within the energy of that moment where it's the same person doing the same thing. It's just you're getting a glimpse of them off to the side because of this natural shift that's going on. And a lot of times it's just related to that person. There is something about their core energy that is allowing that to happen. And I include, one of the more historical stories of that, of Emily Saget, who is a French school teacher teaching in what is now modern day Latvia. And her students would see her suddenly, she'd be like writing on the chalkboard, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a second one of her mimicking the motions. There's no chalk in her hand because the chalk didn't shift. It was just her. And and a number of different stories associated with her that are absolutely fascinating. So, and she had no idea it was happening, but everybody else was witnessing it. So so yeah, it's something with their energy that's allowing them to shift like that.
Well, remember, Lee, when we were at the old Confederate graveyard, I
Yes.
had walked up onto a grave, no lie, Mike, and I was looking at myself in that grave.
Mm-hmm.
And he came out, and it's like we had the same thought patterns. We were had the same facial features, even though his face was different than mine. And I told Lee, I said, I think I found one of my past lives.
Yeah, we were standing there. I looked over. I couldn't see what he was seeing, but when I looked at Blaine's face, I could feel what he was experiencing.
Yeah.
And that was really trippy. And then the only word I got is trippy, y'all. I can make something up later, but that's not a good word. But we walked back to the truck, and out of nowhere, we hear a rebel yell. And there were two of them. Yeah. That was one of the most magical, incredibly, it's haunting, but not in a negative way. It was
Right.
very, it just touched my soul. Wow.
Yeah,
and nobody else around because there's nothing out there.
No,
I
there's
think the
nothing out
closest
there.
house to it's about 6 miles away because it's all like farmland and trees. But
we made it there.
Nothing over but cemetery.
Pretty sure that it was like a gravel road to get there. I kept saying, "Where are we going?" Matt would say, "Oh, Blaine knows." Blaine knows. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's fascinating when those things happen because the time really is all happening concurrently, past, present, future. They're just each on their own, different wavelength and frequency. But we usually don't know what the catalyst is, but something happens within the environment that all of a sudden they'll resonate at the same frequency and get a little bit of glimpse of the other. And sometimes, yes, they are our own past lives that we're suddenly seeing and interacting with. They could even be images of ourselves in this very life, just from a little bit before, a little bit after.
That's so crazy. I had never been in a situation where someone actually ran up on something from a past life that they just stumbled upon until Blaine and the noise. Oh, and remember, we were both looking down the there's rows and then a big space and then rows of the graves, and my husband was saying, "Oh, I can see how they did this," and he was explaining this is where the wagon came through with the horses, and he was explaining it all, and I said, and the blood was dripping through here, and Matt was saying yes, and then Blaine and I looked at each other and we could see the wagon, we could see him digging, we could see everything, and I don't know. It's just something incredibly magical about that night, and the fact that we got a disembodied voice giving us a salutation, because I was crying. Just so much loss and pain and death and.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was.
Where was this at?
It's Shelby County, Alabama.
Okay.
It's right off Interstate 65 coming south. If you get off on, I think it's Highway 25, and you go down about 6-7 miles, turn to the right, go across the railroad tracks about a mile on the left. Now you can actually see where the trail was, where they had bring the carts in to drop the horses off. But at the
Okay.
end of it, it was woods. And at the time it was there was no woods there. And they
Okay.
came out the same dirt road that we came in on. But it was also a family cemetery as well. And they donated the rest of that land for all the dead soldiers,
Oh,
Confederate
wow.
soldiers. And I think
Okay.
there's some Union ones buried in there too. But yeah, when you go to the civilian side, there is a little girl spirit there. And she is just a sweetheart. I think she's like 5 or
Precious.
6 years old. And she'll come up and sing to you. She'll come
Oh.
up there and hold your hand.
But she's
She
very
likes
powerful. She's
Oh,
Yeah.
she
kind
is
and
scary.
loving,
Yeah.
but
Good.
she's strong. You can feel her
Oh, yeah.
energy. Woo.
Oh, yeah. Pretty
So
interesting place.
do you work with psychics, Mike, in studying these things? Because you're a
Oh,
historian too. It seems like
yeah.
you're on the analytical side. So I was just curious how that works for you.
Yeah. I mean, I work and talk with a lot of different people. Within my latest book here, Travels Through Time. I have Mary Marshall chimes in on some different issues.
Love her. She is
Yeah,
so
she's
precious.
amazing.
Oh yeah.
I have Emily Harrison from the Akashic Academy chimes in on the Akashic Records. I have Mark Anthony, psychic medium, talking about dreams and premonitions. So,
He's wonderful too.
yeah, he really is. So, yeah, I have a lot of different people that I network with, and we talk about these different subjects and and our research that we do. It's fascinating. You have to explore all the different areas because they're all connected to each other, some way, shape, or form. And so, what are those connections?
I'm going to bring Christopher on. He's our special co-host. Let him come in a little bit
Sure.
too. This is
Hello.
Christopher Fisher. Hey, hun. So
Hi,
have you
Mike.
been listening?
Yeah.
Very cool. So Mike, this is Christopher. Christopher,
Nice to meet
this
you,
is
Christopher.
Mike. Now,
Nice to
Blaine,
meet you, sir.
you being in the Air Force, Mike being in the Air Force, and you guys both having similar stories that ended up on Unsolved Mission Unsolved. Is that right?
Mission
That's right.
Unexplained.
Listen,
Yeah.
Unexplained.
Like,
I
yeah.
don't know
Yep.
what I'm doing with that. Sorry, I apologize.
Oh, you're good.
But you guys have a lot in common. Yeah, you guys. I
Yeah.
knew that I needed to introduce you guys. This
Oh,
is
a pleasure to meet you. Yeah, I
Don't you
didn't
just
see
love
that
his
particular
shirt?
episode, but yeah.
You see his
I,
shirt?
Mike, I was in
Yeah.
the very first one. There's like a lady from Guam, then mine,
Yeah.
then Dr. Robert Young, who's a host on the show too.
Okay.
He's a retired psychiatrist for the VA.
Oh,
His,
great.
Good
yeah,
person. Yeah.
his name is Robert Young, Professor Robert Young.
Yep.
Okay.
He was one
Yeah.
of the founders of the Rhine Center. He did.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
He
Yeah,
comes and goes.
in my research, because I in Travels Through Time, when talking about ESP and things like that, I talk about Louisa Rhine, who the Rhine Center is named after, and came to find out, digging into her past, she actually went to the College of Worcester, which is where I graduated high school from. So it's
Wow.
again one of those interesting little connections. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Mhm.
Kim's got a little story here.
Okay.
Kim, I'm just gonna take it down and read it. Okay.
I
She said
found
she had
it very interesting about the UFO experiences and
Okay.
stuff.
Well, let's see about it. She said, I had a wild experience in Story, Wyoming. It was the 100th-year Story Days was going on. And it was herself and her ex-husband. They had a cabin there, and they were standing outside looking up at the clear, starry night when this fog rolled in, a wall-type bank that smelled like wet wood pine, and there was still stars to the left and stars to the right. And then this low moving fog bank, it moved out, and there was this man and woman standing in front of them in period clothing.
Hmm.
And the man had his
Oh,
arm
wow.
around her protectively. And then the story kind of went away after that, Kimberly. You might have to post the second part. But how crazy is that she had? That's
Yeah,
insane.
that's really fascinating.
Yeah, it
Very
is.
interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Mike, I
Wow.
want to know how bad they butchered your episode.
Oh,
Because what I actually talked about wasn't what I talked about. What they had me talking about was like one Iraqi soldier. And like, I've seen thousands of those. I actually saw a jinn, but they didn't bring that up.
Yeah, they had me there for 4 hours. For one, it was
Well,
a
hold on.
4 hour, longest interview I've ever had for a television show.
Thank you.
It's like
Yeah.
usually when I'm doing like Ancient Aliens or I'm explaining with William Shatner. You're there
Love
for an
that
hour.
man.
Boom.
I love that
Yep.
man.
Oh yeah,
Just saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love the show, and I'm happy to be a part of it. But it's like
Yeah.
you're interviewed for an hour, done. Even like doing multiple episodes of Ancient Aliens on the same day. It's like I got one producer sits down in front of me, interviews for an hour. We take a quick 5-minute break, switch out, boom, next producer. We go for an hour. That's it. No, they had me at
Yeah.
Mission Unexplained 4 hours, and yeah, I did like a whole Facebook Live just after that because the way that they explain the story. Now, this was something that almost everybody in that facility witnessed, and they made it as like I was the only witness, the only person to have witnessed it. So they got like
Mhm.
the experts on there talking about like, well, you've been suffering fatigue and has stress and all this stuff, and it's like I mean, we weren't all just fatigued and seeing the exact same thing at the exact
Thank
same
you.
time. It's just, geez. So yeah, I was a bit perturbed by that. In the story that they had with because they briefly mentioned at the end that I presented what I was seeing to my supervisor. No, that was actually like way back when I first got into that facility. I had to wait a year for my security clearance. It came in about 10 months. Got into
Mhm.
that facility. My supervisor wasn't there for like the first week and a half, 2 weeks, because he was on, I can't remember if it was a TDY or if he was taking leave or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Um, so he came back, and I'd already seen a couple little things by that point. I was like, okay, something strange going on down here. And we're sitting down in his office that first day that I'm meeting him. We're just chatting, getting to know each other. And I saw something, walk by the door, kind of shadowy, translucent in nature. And he saw that I noticed it. And he just said, yeah, that happens here. It was like,
Wow.
okay. And then we went on talking, right? Um, but that was like way at the very beginning. And over the next 2 years, there are all kinds of different things that happen.
Yeah.
We were all kind of whispering about it. It's not like you were taking it up the chain of command because you don't want to find yourself down at mental health and getting your security
No.
clearance revoked and all that.
No.
Yeah, so but we were all chatting and talking about it. Whenever we would see it, sometimes there'd be a couple of us walking, bunch of cubicles and stuff. Walking toward the little snack area, and all of a sudden something goes by. You're kind of looking at each other like, saw that. And there was a prevailing story about the building. This is the Alaska Command Building,
Hello.
Elmendorf Air Force Base, and we're in the basement.
Oh, Dumbledore?
Okay. Yeah, it's a secure
I've probably
facility.
been in that building. Yeah, I've been
Probably.
in
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and so there was this prevailing story that didn't come from me; it came from the other guys over there, out of the comm center, that came up with this story that the building had once been a hospital, and where we were at
Oh.
was the morgue, and where we had our like racks for the patch panels and multiplexers and all that had actually been the room where they kept the coolers. So that was a story that I had for 20 something years, right? Well, when
Yeah.
I did the research for Alaska's Mysterious Triangle for that book, I want to get my facts and stories straight, about, because I'm going to talk about this incident, not incident, but basically all that time down there, 2 years, that we kept seeing these shadows. And so I looked into the history of the building and discover, oh, this building was never actually a hospital. It was built exactly what it was being used for, and that was command. Which, of course, led me to all kinds of questions about why in the world were we seeing shadows down there?
Yeah.
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 But yeah, so Mission Unexplained, they had a story they were trying to tell, and she grilled
Yeah.
me trying to get those pieces, and you saw them play out.
Yeah, it's probably the same lady that did mine. But I had a fun experience
Probably.
there before we started filming.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the sound guy and the two camera guys. I said, have y'all ever had your stuff just quit on you before filming? And the one guy says, well, I've been doing this for 45 years. Never happened. And then, like clockwork, the sound guy goes, y'all ain't going to believe this. My soundboard just went out. Then both
Oh
cameras
my
went out. I
gosh.
Nice.
was sitting there saying, I told you it was going to happen. How did you do that? I said, I just saw it coming. I thought it
my
was hilarious.
God.
Yeah. I mean, they were all nice people.
Oh, yeah. They were
all
awesome.
very nice. Yeah.
I mean,
But they had a
treated us
certain
good.
story they were trying to tell.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
Trying to
I
make
think
it
the story
spooky.
that I had, the story I had with the gym was pretty spooky, and they just made it where I just saw one Iraqi soldier,
Hmm.
and I saw thousands of them every day in Iraq
Yeah.
that we've blown up. But yeah, if I wish I had told the other story, but I was proud that I got to do it because my
Hmm.
granddaughter saw it and she was proud because her grandpa's on TV.
Yeah.
Made her a celebrity at her old school.
Oh,
So
she's beautiful. Actually was a co-host on the show. She's been in
Oh,
she is a
fantastic.
beautiful young lady, very
yep.
Nice.
smart. She's like her
Hmm.
grandpa.
Oh,
So, can you tell us a little bit about your books? You've got a lot of books, and they're
yeah.
fantastic. And
Thank you.
I didn't know that you had done a campfire storybook, and I did as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was my final book with Schiffer Publishing. Before I built my own publishing company, which Lee, you are published through
Yes,
Haunted Road Media. Thank
I
you.
love it.
I appreciate it. And everybody get Lee's book, Family Spirit.
Thank you. Please.
Please do.
So yeah, Campfire Tales Midwest. So you know, that particular publishing company is primarily nonfiction, and I'd gotten on board with them back in the 2000s because they were expanding their line of ghost and paranormal books, and they had asked me if I would take on Maryland because I was living in Maryland at the time, and I eventually did Oklahoma because I moved out there, and they were going to try their hand at some fiction. And so Dinah, my editor, had reached out to me, kind of pitched me the idea if I'd be willing to do it because she knew that I came from a fiction background. My first book
Oh,
was a mystery novel, and that's how she found me. Actually, ironically enough, way back in the MySpace days. That's how long ago this was.
oh
Wow.
wow.
Yeah,
Is that
and
System of the Dead?
that was Deadly Air. System of the Dead is
Oh,
the
oh,
sequel to that. Yeah,
okay. I'm
and
on Amazon, everybody, and just start looking through Mike Ricksecker's books, and they're really cool, Mike.
thank you. Yeah, she had reached out to me. She was like, I know that you're a fiction writer, but I see that you've also written some paranormal short stories, which I had. I had an interest in the paranormal, and would I be willing to do the Maryland book? Yeah, absolutely. Um, so that was one of the things where the universe kind of really lined up. But so she reached out to me about doing the Campfire Tales Midwest book, and yeah, that was a lot of fun because it had to be based off of real history and legends, which I did. But you got to do it almost like a historic fiction. You got to add your own little twist to everything. So that was a lot of fun, being able to tell my own story about these
Yeah.
historic locations and providing the necessary history and background that the people needed to become familiar with these locations.
Mhm. My book about the campfire tales, I've taken tales that go all the way back to the turn of the century, and I did
Hmm.
my own spin on them. But then I show people how to get to the original story and how old it is. So
Yeah.
I did a little something like what you did, but not
Okay.
quite. I think it's fun.
Oh, it's definitely fun. Yeah, and I tried to include, something to do with fire within each story. In the very first one, it's a couple of kids sitting around a campfire trying to spook themselves. So
That's so cute.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
Ma,
So I'm looking at this one, Christopher. I bet you'll like it. Well, this one is about time travel, and is
that's the
that
latest
about
one.
the interdimensional phasing?
Yeah,
Or
that's the latest one. Travels Through Time. That just came out August 1, so it's been out a week and a half. In fact, looking at it today on Kindle, it's number one top release in the metaphysics field,
oh, that's
which is great.
wonderful.
Yeah,
I,
I was really happy to see that.
it's
And,
ironic they've been finding it.
Yeah, it's
Time
right there
travel
on the
may
top.
be
Mhm.
possible, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, it's possible, and I think it's more. It has more to do with ourselves than say like a flux capacitor and a DeLorean. It's it's not. I don't think it's going to be mechanical in nature when we
It,
figure it out. And a lot of people already experience. We've been talking time slips. I mean, that
they
is
think
in a
they
way a
can,
type of time travel.
they
I'm
think
sorry.
they can probably model a spaceship to do it, too.
Well, they talk about, like, our theoretical physicists talk about, well, if we go around the black hole, it bends space and time. But I mean, we're not getting near a black hole anytime soon. Um, but there are other ways in which we can, expand our consciousness and tune into other moments in time to
That's
actually
right.
get a glimpse of them. Yeah.
We'd
That's so
probably only be able to do that on an individual basis only for the
Hmm.
next couple hundred years until we're technically able to take a voyage on spacecraft and different things. I'd say it's doable within 200 or 300 years.
there's a couple of people that say that we have the technology now and it's just being held back from society.
Well, there's a lot that's being held back from us
Yeah, really.
as far as
That's
technology.
true.
So, yeah.
Yeah, me and
So,
Mike work for the government. We know they're liars.
This is
You read
true.
about that black cube that we're talking about?
yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about your trips to Egypt that you've taken, your
Yeah.
Egyptian trips. I'm
Right
actually
on.
looking at you on YouTube. I was looking at it before the show. You
Yeah.
looked at Stargates and Mayans, Ark of the Covenant, and all these things from ancient
Hmm.
Egypt. So, wow, you can actually take people through on your YouTube channel,
Hmm.
uh, and take them through a tour, or do they
Yeah.
just
Well,
people
I
can
could take
go
them
with
in
you as
person
well?
as yeah, I could take them in person as
Wow.
well. We do a yearly tour. So we have the next Stargates of Ancient Egypt tour coming up in April. It's April 17th to the 28th. You can get the links from my website or social media because I'm always posting about that. But yeah, our tour guide is Mohammed Ibrahim, who's he's been doing the tours there for over 20 years. Extremely knowledgeable. He's an actual Egyptologist, but it's not. Yeah, we don't tote the narrative, the traditional line that's been forced upon us for all these years. No, we get into the real history and what really happened. And yes, we do find the Stargates are actually all over. They're hidden in plain sight, and
Mhm.
so our tour focuses on that. And yeah, that's actually the next book in the series. The one after the time travel book here is on the Stargates.
Oh, yeah,
Right
that
on.
was my next question. You read my
Hmm.
mind. Wow, that's going to be fantastic. Your books are just
Yeah.
getting better and better and better. So April's asking, do you ever meet or know Rob Sibka? Just curious.
Um, Not familiar. No.
I don't recognize that name either.
Mm-mm.
And James
Sorry.
Cunningham, JC, he is saying hello from the Wizard of Odd Fellow Oddities and Haunted Items. He has a haunted museum of all these haunted objects,
Hmm.
and he's going to be at the Deep South Paracomic Con
Oh,
this
great.
weekend. So, doing a shameless plug there about the
There you go.
about the event. It's going to be great. I mean, I
Yeah.
wish you could come. So, what Paracons do you have coming up, Mike?
I have Michigan Paracon coming up in just over a week.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, that's August 24th through the 26th. But they have a special pre-party on that Wednesday night, and we have a small panel, paranormal panel during that pre-party that I'm part of, and then I'm speaking on the 24th at 1 p.m. I'll be talking on time travel and all that, and then I'm at Phenomicon in Vernal, Utah on that is September 6th through the 9th. And that night of the 6th is a film festival, and we'll be running a couple of episodes of my series, The Shadow Dimension, which
Oh,
people
yeah.
can find on Tubi TV and Roku channel.
Oh, you're on Roku. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah,
We are too. So, everybody watching, please find Mike on Roku and enjoy all of his episodes. He's very knowledgeable and educational. I keep
I
looking
try.
at it. I started watching it. I got sucked right in, and now here we are. So, I'm turning the channel and looking at you. It's very interesting. Um,
Thank you.
Yeah,
oh,
Mike, what was cool, when I was in the Air Force, we did a joint uh, exercise with the Egyptian Air Force.
Oh, nice.
And one of the pilots for them, his secondary job was giving tours of the pyramids. So he
Oh,
took us in
very cool.
places that like only Hawass goes into, It's like
Yeah.
general public don't go this far. They don't go in here. And he gave us like
Hmm.
like you said, the real history of
Yep.
what everything was there. It was like that's just amazing to get to going
Yeah.
somewhere that was built. And then when I was stationed in Panama, we went down to one of the Incan pyramids. And what amazed me is like the base of the big pyramid in Egypt and the big one in the Mayan in Machu Picchu was like an eighth of a millimeter off
Yeah.
in size. That just amazed me.
Yeah. How these things line up and the correlation between them, and they're on different continents, is just amazing. And yeah, with our tour, we get 2 hours just ourselves, just our little group in the Great Pyramid. And yeah, the places throughout the pyramid that are, off, that are off the public, like the subterranean chamber and other areas, we get those. So the whole
we got
pyramid's
some
opened
good
up to
spots.
us, which is great. So yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. And encourage people to come with us. It's an absolutely life-changing experience, and to
Oh,
feel
sure
the
it is.
energy in those locations are amazing. And
I
yeah, and
wanna
you
go.
start to see those correlations between
Yeah.
and Lee, you mentioned it, the one particular video there talking about Stargates, Mayans,
Mhm.
and the Ark of the Covenant. That's
Yes.
Elephantine Island. That is part of the tour, and there's a Stargate on the top of the hill. There's an old temple up there. The Mayans, the one temple that's there, that's pretty much intact. In the one particular hall, there's a frieze at the top, and there's this guy in a Mayan headdress, and you're like,
What?
what in the world is this doing here? Yeah, it's a depiction of somebody in a Mayan headdress, and then
Wow.
directly below that temple, Elephantine Island was, if you believe the idea that the Ark of the Covenant made its way down to Ethiopia, Elephantine Island is where the Ark would have stayed for 400 years. And there's
Wow.
a cave temple underneath where it is supposed to have stayed. Now, some people believe that the Ark of the Covenant is actually still there on Elephantine Island.
Really?
So yeah, there's a lot of interesting history and legends and things like that. But you're like, okay, there's a Stargate at the top of the hill. You
There's
got a Mayan that's
conjecture.
right here.
There's conjecture that some people think it's at that St. Mary's Chapel in Ethiopia. So there's a lot of theories on where it's at.
Right. At Axum. Yeah, a lot of people think it's there in Axum. Yeah.
So I asked if anyone had questions, and JC wants to know, have you ever been to Bohemian Grove to see the Grand Gate?
I have not been to Bohemian Grove. No.
Okay. So maybe we'll make us a bucket list.
All right.
Personally, I want to
I've
go
been to a
with
lot of
you.
places, but there's a lot of places I still need to get to.
Now, this will probably tickle Blaine's fancy too. I know that you go to Ireland and
Yeah.
you've done some tours there. Okay, have you ever had a fairy experience or known someone that's had anything to do with fairies? I love me some fairies.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's interesting. I have seen them, but I did not see them while I was in Ireland. But what's okay? I said we went through an area and like day one that we essentially called the fairy woods because it was just absolutely beautiful. It's like if there are any fairies that we're going to encounter in Ireland, it's going to be here because it was just this really lush forest, greenery. It was absolutely beautiful. So we called it the fairy forest. But yeah, I have seen fairies, but here in the United States.
Really? Where were
Yeah. So the one location was Hinsdale House, and it's actually part of. I don't want to spoil too much because it's actually part of Shadow Dimension Season 2, which is currently in post
We don't
production.
want to mess that up. No.
Yeah. So that
But
story
you'll
is
let
told.
me know, right? Will you tell
Oh
us?
yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you when it's released. The other time was on the Goldenrod Showboat in South Campsville, Illinois. Unfortunately, the showboat is no longer there. It burned in an arson fire a few years back.
Oh no.
But yeah, it
That
was
is sad.
yeah, it was. Yeah, but it was really fascinating. How it happened because it was after an event that we had done there. Little investigation. We had my good friend Coyote Chris Sutton, who passed away here a couple of years ago. He was there. Yeah, he was part of the event. And so there were just a couple of us left, myself and two ladies. This was the last event of the season. They had the whole thing, boarded up because they were getting it ready for the winter. So the only thing that was open was the front door through the lobby area. And so we're just talking and chatting, and all of a sudden I see coming in through the lobby and into the big showroom where we're at was this, like little illuminated ball of light. And it kind of whooshed right between the two women, and I'm like looking around, where'd it go? And they were like chatting. They had no idea what I had just
Oh,
seen, and I didn't pay it any mind. Maybe I just saw something, right? But then all of a sudden, right next to the other, all of a sudden this like little bar of light appeared on the ground next to her. I'm like, what the heck is that? And so, because the only light that was on at the time was like my flashlight, which I had sitting on the ground to give us a little bit of light while we were chatting.
Wow.
So I go around her and I'm looking at the ground and I start like moving my hand, trying to like break a bar of light. Like, where's it coming from? The whole place is boarded up. And they're looking at me like, what the heck's going on? All of a sudden, that little bar of light starts to like waver like this, and then it's gone.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild. And
So
they're like,
sweet.
"What?" Yeah, they're like, "What the heck's going on?" I described it, and they're like, "We didn't see that," because they're like looking at each other. And all of a sudden, I saw the ball of light again whoosh around the one woman. I'm like, "Oh, did you see that?" They still didn't see it because at that point they're looking up at me talking, and they're like, "No." But then finally, it starts dancing around the ceiling of the showroom and bouncing
Hmm.
around. They saw it and they're like, "Oh, there it goes, there it goes." Yeah,
Oh
so it was really
wow.
cool. And finally, it just the last time we saw it flew right back out through the lobby and out the front door.
Mm.
So yeah, that whole idea of it was transformative. It was a ball of light, there was a bar of light, and then that bar wavered like that. Was like, were those wings? I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, when I saw mine, it looked like a very small version of what you think an angel was. The
Yeah.
wings, I could see it flapping, and like you said, it was translucent, and it it,
Hmm.
it,
Wow.
it was
Isn't that
curious of
crazy?
things. It was like you said, it would go look like we had a couple of people with us, and it go like behind them and look at
That
them,
Hmm.
was
and
that
then go
was
behind
all
the other
that.
person and come back. Then it come like just like right in front of my face, not even a foot away, and I just watched it. I said, "Well, isn't that some interesting shit?"
Yeah, that's right. We have some fairy sightings as well as some Bigfoot sightings between the border of South Carolina and North Carolina. And
Okay.
I'm taking the class to that
Nice.
in
Hmm.
October, so I'm hoping we're going to see some fun things. I'm
Very, very
really
cool.
excited. I would love to see. So, how much do you know about Bigfoot? Are you as
I
versed
mean,
in that
I
as?
know I'm not strongly versed in it. I am, of course, familiar. I have had to cover it in some of my work, especially like Alaska's Mysterious Triangle, that book.
Right.
I had to cover it, so I know some things. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this creature we saw in Florida near the
Hmm.
Everglades, and it was black with light brown. Uh,
Okay.
it was black. It had black hands, but right around his nails was brown, kind of like a
Hmm.
tannish, like buff color. You talk about
Okay.
dogs having black and the buff color. It was like that. I never saw his body, but
Gotcha.
Hmm.
from where I could tell where he was knocking, he was taller than he was about 5'10", between
Okay.
5'8" and 5'10".
Hmm.
But I saw his fingernails because he was kind of scratching the screen, and I was
Yeah.
laying down scratching the screen, and my mom freaked out. I thought it was a kid. But
Yeah.
is that known to be like a skunk ape? I mean,
I was about to
are
say
the
that could have
colors?
been. Yeah, I was about to say that could have been a skunk ape. Yeah.
He smelled like a skunk ape, so that was rough. But I've been trying to, put all of that together. That whole
Sure.
experience
Sure.
was crazy, and I've been thinking lately. Blaine said he thought it was a skunk ape once, and then, but its intelligence was, you know, hard to say. But these are really cool topics, and it really gets your
Wow.
mind working. And I
Absolutely.
love that, and I love that about your series and about your books. For those of you watching, please promise me you'll go on YouTube and look up Mike Ricksecker, my publisher, You could look up Haunted Road Media, or you could just look at him on Ancient Aliens. You know, he's everywhere, and he's fun and he's thought provoking. So that's where it's at.
Thank you.
Supernatural discussions with Mike Ricksecker. We're having fun. There was somebody else that had a question. The majority of them are saying that their husbands, the ladies that are usually with us at
Hmm.
night, they're saying their husbands are glued to the screen right now.
Oh, okay.
They're really enjoying it.
Great, great,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Now, Blaine, you've seen some some UFOs,
Yeah.
and Mike, you have as well. I think I remember you talking about that before.
I've
Um,
seen one UFO, and
I saw
it
one.
wasn't extravagant or some great experience. It was actually really kind of casual.
Oh no,
Casual UFO,
just
yeah, because
casual.
I'll tell the story real quick. Cause I'm on the way to Oklahoma to visit a couple of my kids, and I'm on the highway, I-44 in Missouri. It's at night, and you're just cruising along, and all of a sudden, off to my left, I noticed these a couple of lights that are just hanging in the air up there, and it's basically pacing the highway. And I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
what the heck is that up there? And I'm driving, looking, and all of a sudden, the one time that I looked, this took off right through there, and I'm like, I think I just saw a UFO. Does it?
Mine happened. I was going down Highway 34. Blaine, whenever you come back this way, I'll show you the highway. It's not far from the house, but I lost 20 minutes.
Nice.
I guess they didn't want to keep me. I don't know. But it was coming towards me, and it got to the car. And as I continued to drive forward, it started driving backward.
Oh, okay.
And it, like, or flying or whatever that
Hmm.
is, backward. And then it took off. That's it.
Cool. Yeah, see, a
Mine's
real
kind of
casual
casual
tale.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they're not like big and glorious where things hovering over your head for, an hour and abducting you and all that. Yeah, sometimes you're just like, oh, there it is. Yeah.
My
Well,
mom and I
my
saw
two
one
experience.
in
I'm sorry,
Memphis,
Lee.
Blaine. You got to look in
Oh,
Memphis when you go
don't
because
worry. I'll
we
be in
saw
Memphis
two.
next week.
We saw two UFOs in Memphis. Sorry. Go ahead. Your turn.
No, the two that I saw, one of them I can't talk about anymore because it's in a secret location that the government has.
Oh,
Oh,
But the other one I can talk about, sitting on my back porch one Friday night, I'm just sitting out there enjoying the stars. I watched this thing come down, and it was probably about 100 foot over the house behind me.
Hmm.
And they were communicating with me. They said, "We came to you because we felt your energy." I'm like,
Hmm.
okay. And I wasn't scared. And I was like, okay, if they're going to abduct me, no, I don't do anal probes. So
Blaine.
jeez.
no, but they just sit there and have a conversation for about
Hey.
15, 20 minutes. And then
Yeah.
they were
You
gone. No,
you did the Our Fairies reel on your YouTube channel too. I see it.
Yeah. Yep. I've covered it. Yeah, I've got well, technically, I do have over 700 videos out there, but there are several that over the years that, I maybe turned off or, made not public anymore. So it's getting close up to that 700 level again.
Go
pretty
ahead,
good.
Blaine.
No,
Go ahead.
I wish I could talk. Well, you know what? I will talk about it because they've declassified a lot of this crap now. One Thanksgiving back in it's probably 85 or 86, we were going somewhere and we had to stop at Tonopah, which is Area 51.
Mhm.
When we landed, they had, I'd call them the Men in Black because they all had black suits on.
Sure.
They came in there and made sure we couldn't see anything. And the only windows they left open was for the pilots to steer. But they covered up all the portholes and everything. And then when they finally got us into a hangar, if you've ever been in a hangar, it takes a long time, even electronically, to close one.
Hmm.
So as we were getting off, I'm watching this other door close. The door we came in, and they could go out the other end too. Well, they had that door open and the one we were in. And just enough in that other hangar, I could see that they had some sort of craft that wasn't
Okay.
ours.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing they were probably doing the reverse engineering on it. But yeah,
Sure.
I spent a Thanksgiving weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we left Sunday. But yeah, that was interesting. I said, I knew it. I knew that they had stuff out here.
Yeah.
Mariah has a question for you
Mhm.
in the chat. She said, "What is the most amazing discovery or experience which changed Mike's theory slash narrative about?" And then she mentioned elementals or something like that.
I mean, that's a tough question because I've had so many things over the years that I've experienced. I'll say this. Um, so, my very first significant paranormal experience was with the shadow person. And, I've had a lot of experiences with shadows over the years. I'm just, my energy is tuned into them. And so for a long time, um, I thought, okay, we had human spirits were human spirits, shadows were shadows, other things were other things. So I was like very compartmentalized, right? And over the years, as I was doing more research and talking with people, starting writing some books, doing presentations, that sort of thing, I'm getting more and more stories from people about their shadow experiences, and it's like, yeah, maybe there is something to be said that the shadows can be a lot of different things. And that's really where my research started going down. And, really one that really kind of hit home for me early on was many years ago. My good friend Rob Guttrell told me about his aunt appearing to him so that he could deliver a message to his mother, but she appeared to him as a shadow. And Rob's a really good friend of mine and trust him with my life. So it's like, all right, that one's really fine. It could be a lot of different things. And so then I started exploring that with my research into shadows. But then there was like the moment that said, okay, you're on the right path, Mike. And that was at Mineral Springs Hotel, Alton, Illinois. One of my favorite haunted location, my favorite haunted historic location. And we had running an event earlier that day with a paranormal investigation afterward. And as we're upstairs in the corner suite, which the abandoned part of the hotel, it's called Pearl's room because there's a confirmed suicide there, and a lot of people have seen her get EVPs, that sort of thing. So we're doing an EVP session up there. There's just a handful of us left, and all of a sudden, as we're doing this EVP session, I hear some noises coming from out in the hall. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go check it out. And so I'm looking down the hall, and all of a sudden I see this black smoke billowing up. I'm like, oh,
Oh my.
there, fire, sniffing. No, there's no fire. I don't smell smoke, but I see it. It starts coming closer and closer. It started doing something very unusual. As it was coming closer, started creeping up the wall on the right hand side. It creeped back down and creeped back up. All the while, it was coming closer and closer. All the rest of the people had joined me by then.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and all of a sudden, one of these times that it crept up that wall on the right hand side, it morphed into the apparition of a little girl. And so
Oh.
there's 5 of us there that are like, come closer, trying to coax the little girl closer. And so she ended up stopping right at this doorway to this room where a lot of people over the years had talked about seeing a little girl in that room or interacting with a little girl in that room. So there were things like trigger objects like teddy bears and toys and things like that in that
Oh.
room. And here it was, we actually saw her. She wouldn't come any closer to us beyond that
Mhm.
door. And what was fascinating was that a lot of us saw her in different ways too. So like I saw her fully formed from her head down to about her knees, and she dissipated away. Others saw her fully formed at the feet and then started to dissipate away at the head. So this was like a lot of things for me in one here. One, okay, here now we have it. Definite confirmation that had some sort of shadow form morphed into the apparition of a little girl. So some of these shadows are actually human spirits. The other thing was, the way that we see, this supernatural activity. Everybody resonates at a little bit of a different frequency. Human bodies anywhere between 9 to 16 hertz. Well, these entities are also resonating at their own frequency. So this is why we kind of see them a little.
I didn't
Be standing
realize
right
that
next.
lower
Oh no.
frequency.
Hold
Yeah.
on, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can be standing right next to somebody, they see something you don't, or vice versa,
Yeah.
or you see it a little differently, and that's because of this resonance. And there it was, right in front of us. So there was a lot that happened in just those couple minutes. Yeah.
Now,
That's a
Mike,
lot.
one of the theories I have on shadow people is they haven't completely learned how to manifest himself fully. And like you said, the different frequencies, and like I see at a very high frequency, so does Lee. And I
Hmm.
could see, I probably would have saw the same thing you did. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've always wondered if that was just a theory I've had
Well,
because of the energy vibe and stuff like that.
yeah, when it comes to shadows, I mean, it really depends on what the shadow is. In this particular case, it happened to be the spirit of the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
But shadow entities, they can be an interdimensional being. They can be an extraterrestrial. They can be what we might see from an astral projection. They could be a light being that the frequency of the light is so beyond us
Yeah.
because our eyes only see into a certain part of the spectrum that we're just seeing the being
Yeah.
and not the light. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they could be a lot of different things.
that's interesting.
Um,
Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
so we've got Mariah with another cool statement. She said she finds spirits project themselves subjectively as shadow figures because they feel depressed or sad and not seen when they were living, and that's interesting. Um, I have had situations where I don't think they were very well. I don't think they ever really had the confidence in life that they were, being listened to. People that are sullen and their personalities were very depressed. And so when somebody sees them, they have an expression on their face like, you can see me. And then poof, they're gone just that
Yeah.
quick. And we call those lemur ghosts because they look like a lemur,
Ah,
Yep.
yeah.
and honestly, those kinds of spirits also happen to be they're not resting because something happened with their death or with their life that was
Right.
not justified. So I don't know. I've
Yeah,
been
we take
studying
those
those
feelings
for
and
a while.
emotions. Yeah,
Yeah.
we take those feelings and emotions with us into the afterlife. So, I'll have people that reach out to me about, they think that they have a demon, and it's like, well, you could just be a, human spirit that's a jerk,
Yep.
Yeah.
because they're, they take
Once a
that with
butt
them into
head,
the afterlife.
always a butt
Yeah,
head.
right.
We had
Exactly.
a case, gosh, Blaine, you might remember this. It's been at least 8 years, not quite 10, but they were well, they weren't teenagers. They were young adults and they had just married and just had a child. And they had something popping up in their living room all the time and they just knew it was a demon. And in reality, it was a little man and a little old lady that had lived their whole lives in that house,
Hmm.
and they didn't approve of some of the things that were going on there, and they were
Right.
trying to let them know to back off, stop that. That's their house. And it turns out they were
Yeah.
the sweetest people.
Hmm.
They made the
Hmm.
litter box smell like, well, many nasty things,
Oh, jeez.
particularly cigarettes being put out in the litter box. I mean, it was
Hmm.
raunchy. And then after she was able to tell her story and she was heard and acknowledged, and him, the house smelled like roses. It
Oh,
was
Hmm.
wow.
very unique, and I'm really trying to look a little harder at being able to hear and smell, or even taste different types, psychically.
Yeah.
Well, Blaine, you know who he is, Andy.
Hmm.
That's one of my students. He lost his ability to taste and smell years ago. And
Okay.
that's why he eats all this hot stuff. I don't know how his stomach's not. He must have a cast iron stomach, but
No
um,
heartburn, huh?
yeah. But he can smell things spiritually. Like
Hmm.
he smelled a cigar, he smelled wine. Another time, gosh, it was months later, but he smelled perfume, and it
Wow.
was like a rose smelling perfume. So, and he does have psychic ability. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting. I've been trying to figure out, a way to study it, but if you have a deficiency in your vision, let's say you've got really poor vision, can you therefore have clairvoyance? Does it offset itself in your spiritual abilities? Because everybody
Right.
has some type of spirit ability.
Hmm.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just I
Absolutely.
don't know. Okay, Roger is saying that he's saying that spirits go from one dimension to another because I had asked them if they thought that paranormal entities are they interdimensional. And so he's answering that saying he believes that they are. They can go through dimensions. So,
Yeah, it's interesting because I, of course, get into dimensions in my book, Travels Through Time. Part of this part of byline inside the fourth dimension. What's fascinating is we are by nature multidimensional beings.
Yeah.
Our consciousness is on the fourth dimension, which is time, but it's housed inside a three-dimensional object, which is our body. So, what's the beyond? Where those are other dimensions, fifth dimension and up. And what's fascinating about that is those other dimensions are above the dimension of time, and so therefore, they can see time like an object. Now, where is the afterlife? Which dimension is that? Is it fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth? Because we have up to 11 hyperspatial dimensions. We don't know, but
I mean, so we know
it's
of
one of
11.
them.
So we know there's
Yeah.
11, but so that
Yeah.
means there's hundreds, thousands, maybe. But Tracy's
Infinity.
saying when you lose one sense, another one builds up to replace it.
Yeah.
Like if you lose your vision, you can hear,
Oh yeah,
really
yeah.
well. So she's thinking that maybe in his spiritual walk, one of his senses heightened. I really think that's the case. I really do. Sort of like what you were just saying about the young lady, the little girl that started
Mhm.
as a shadow form. Now that, okay, well, we can see that shadow figures can be people,
Yeah.
So with this, he can smell spiritually, but he can't with his
But not
nose.
physically. Yeah, it's
That poor
interesting.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had a friend of mine years ago. She had fallen off of a hayride, bumped her head, and lost the sense of smell for a few years.
Oh, damn.
It happens, yeah.
There's some people that are having problems with their smell never came back from COVID. It's like
Yes.
nerve damage.
Yeah, people lost sense of smell, taste. Yeah. So they usually got it back, but yeah, I guess there are some cases out there where they didn't. So, yeah.
That would suck.
Wasn't it though?
I mean, you couldn't smell look, one of my favorite smells in the world besides something cooking on a grill
Yes.
is a cake being baked, a pie being baked.
Mhm.
Gun oil. Love gun
Gun oil. Oh, yes. Yes. I, I couldn't stand it if I couldn't smell because 90% of your taste is what you smell anyway. So
Right.
that would suck.
Mhm. Kim in the chat room is saying that as her vision gets worse, her other spiritual gifts are growing. That's great, Kim. I'm glad that
Good, Kim.
you're
good.
offsetting that negativity. Way to go, girl. Lose something, gain it too. That's right.
Yep.
This is a lot of fun. I sure have missed talking to you.
Yeah, it's been too long lately.
Hmm. So, working with ancient aliens. So, is it just like doing your other interviews on television, where there's the green screen and these things? And do they give you information up front, or are they giving you a topic? I mean,
Yeah. It's not just we're gonna throw you down in a chair and we're just gonna surprise you.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's
because that's
specific.
what happened to me on a couple of shows.
Yeah, there's I mean they have meetings and all that, but before they start filming the season to be like, okay, what topics are we going to cover? Who are we going to try to bring in to talk about those topics? Do we need to go find people to talk on some of these subjects? And of course, they have their mainstays like Giorgio and William Henry, Nick Pope, those guys that are always there.
I love Giorgio. He's
yeah.
fun. He's fun.
They're fun, yeah. So what they do for like me is they'll contact me. Hey, we're doing this episode or that episode. Can you talk to this? We'll kind of chat about it. And, okay, fine. And so they'll fly me out either to LA or New York, and they'll usually find. Mostly, it's been like a historic place. There was one time it was some random building, but they had a nice backdrop. But several times I filmed at this one particular historic mansion in Pasadena, and they have a room there now. They call it Mike's office. There's a beautiful desk. There's a Tiffany lamp that's sitting there. The lamp is worth like $100,000. It's like, you're kidding me? Beautiful bookcase back behind me. and it's not that big of a room, so they kind of like shove all the cameras in there and the lights, and so they film me there, and they use the other rooms in the building to film other people. They have a lot more room, but this is Mike's office, so we film in there. And yeah, so I know the topic going in, and the producer will usually provide me with a list of questions that
Oh,
they're likely
good.
to ask, which is great. So I have something to go off of. But what usually ends up happening is like, we'll get a couple questions in, and then just over the course of conversation, the conversation might deviate, or the producer might have a thought occur to him, like, oh, let me ask about this in time. So, but we'll get through the list. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
That sounds like it doesn't sound as mysterious as it comes off in the final cuts that we see, because we just don't ever know what you guys are going to end up talking about. And
Yep.
we're busy,
Well,
our jaws are dropping as we're listening.
yeah. Well,
And
you got to think about it. Each person that's interviewed, it's an hour-long interview, and of course, again, you have like Giorgio, Nick, William, Travis, all these guys that they basically have to get in there because they're the the main hosts of the show, and then they have like maybe a half dozen other experts that they
Right.
bring on, like me and some others, and so between like what 12 of us that each have an hour-long interview, so you have like 12 hours worth of footage. They got to bring that down to like 42 minutes.
I
So,
know there's a lot of stuff that has to be cut, I'm
yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So there are some episodes in which I've had a lot of my interview included on, or others in which it's just a couple little snippets. So yeah, it just
Yeah.
depends on what they end up deciding. This is a story that we're going to tell, and this person had the better comment about it. Yeah.
See, what I love now, Mike, is like since and doing more stuff. There's a great meme with Giorgio. It says, "I am not saying I told you so, but I told you so."
Yeah, I've seen that. It's
I
great.
just love
He
that.
even
Yeah.
reposted that.
My
He
other,
reposted that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I thought it was hilarious.
He's
Always used to
he
be.
loves that
I'm not
stuff.
saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. I thought it was
Yeah.
just hilarious.
It was a take on that. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
he's a
Yeah,
good
it was
sport
pretty
about
good.
all that stuff. Yeah. No,
Oh
and
yeah,
I love it because it was great marketing on his part. With the hair and all that stuff,
That
because
was
you know
genius.
it was genius, because
Mhm.
especially early on, most people didn't know who the other guys on the show were, but they all knew
yeah.
Giorgio because of the hair.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I called him the
Hell, our
hair guy
nickname.
for the longest time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
our
The
nickname
Exactly.
dude
for
with
him.
the hair.
Our nickname for him used to be Captain Hair. Then he got promoted. Now it's Major Hair.
Major hair. At least it's not Major Pain. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
wife gave him that name. Well, she loves Giorgio. I love his show.
Hmm.
And then I always
Yeah.
get to see, David Childers on there. I've read every one
Yeah.
of his
David
books.
Childers. Yep.
And Van Doniken. I think I read Chariots of the Gods when I was in like
Chariots of the Gods. Oh
first
yeah.
grade,
I love Ariel. I
way
can't
back
say
in the
his last
70s.
name. Ariel Bar Sadok.
Yeah.
He is
The
just
Jewish rabbi.
enchanting.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he speaks,
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
Hmm.
everybody slams on brakes. Beautiful, beautiful. Um, yeah, we've got a lot of people still. They were just talking about the senses, and how they their psychic abilities, as other senses are diminishing,
Mhm.
how spiritually they are growing.
Yeah.
Something that Blaine and I've been talking with Jeff Leeper about, it's his idea. We were discussing people that have some sort of I haven't. Let me start over because I'm talking out of both ends. I'm getting all excited because I love this idea. Um, Creating a paranormal team of people that have sensory deficiencies of some kind.
Hmm.
Someone that's blind, someone that may not be able to walk, that's going to need a wheelchair. They could do hotels, they could do hospitals. There's a lot of places they could go in outside, even.
Hmm.
But the idea would be to have a demonologist with them and their nurse,
Okay.
and see if. I mean, imagine someone that is so used to relying on their hearing, listening to EVPs.
Yeah.
They're going to hear and feel things differently
Oh,
than
sure.
the rest of us.
Hmm.
and I would stay glued to the TV on that one. No joke. I would
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
definitely an interesting concept. That's great idea.
But having someone that can spiritually defend them and someone else that can
Mm-hmm.
physically take care of them and make sure everybody's signed off, that they can
Right.
do it. But I think it's great. Blaine and I were chatting it up, and both of us were trying to think of ways that we could, contribute to that project. As maybe they could start a video chat and we could tell them where they're going and give them some tips. I just think it would be great because it's long past time, way overdue
Oh, certainly.
for
Yeah.
people that are that have some type of
Mhm.
physical handicap being able to get into paranormal locations. That's way
Yeah, I
past.
agree.
It's fun. Oh, Tracy says she has a friend that's autistic that investigates. Now that's great.
Oh, so do I. Yeah.
I have a student that is, and he is one of the best investigators I have.
Mm-hmm.
He really is because he does it the same way. He's like a machine. The
Yeah, very
same way.
meticulous. Very
Yes.
meticulous. It's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
you need that. Yep.
And could take a picture. If something is happening, he will make a photo of it.
Mm-hmm.
Things that we can't remember, he's got a picture of it. So he let me know he does have psychic ability too. The next time I go to Memphis, Blaine, that I'm going to have a paranormal incident. He said. So I'm waiting to see what that may be because he brought me some postcards that are very old, very vintage
Mm-hmm.
of Memphis. My mind is just all over the place. I love to think creatively and analytically because so few people
Mm-hmm.
can be expressive analytical.
Yeah.
So let's see. James is saying that he has flown many flights wearing modified night vision test goggles and seeing spirits of the past, shoulders sitting in the Huey seat, neck. Oh my lord, having a spirit in the seat beside you. He teaches, by the way, JC teaches, and he's the one that has the
Mm-hmm.
haunted object museum,
Oh, okay.
and he teaches flying through the military.
Oh,
He's a
great.
former ranger, and he said that he has had a lot of paranormal episodes. I've always wanted to ask someone that had that experience, were they able to communicate with the spirit beside them? Were they helping give them information? My
Yeah,
son.
it's interesting. Just a second here. With the night vision goggles, a few weeks back on my Connecting the Universe show, our Edge of the Rabbit Hole version of that, we had Mark Anthony on talking about the red light night vision goggles and the strange things. I guess there was a certain number of them for a very, very short period of time back in Vietnam where they were issued and they were seeing all kinds of wild things and they had to recall
Wow.
the red
Yep.
night vision goggles. Yeah.
Yep.
I want one.
Yeah, my dad talked about when he flew Hueys and Nom. He said he didn't like them
Mhm.
because they'd see more stuff that they didn't want to see. They saw
Yeah.
enough. He said, I don't need to see no more, especially stuff that ain't there. But he'd tell me
Yeah.
all the time that he'd see like spirits of soldiers that have died in the helicopter, trying to get them back, get them saved.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's JC is saying
Doors
the
that have
same
been shot.
thing.
Yeah.
He's saying the same thing, Blaine. He's echoing exactly what you're
Mhm.
saying about
Yep.
your dad.
Wow.
That about telling them to bank real fast and then something happened. I didn't know your dad flew Hueys, Blaine.
Yeah.
We've been friends
Sure
all this
did.
time, and I'm still learning about your brother. Very cool. And James has the red dot night vision, and
Okay,
he's
great.
bringing it this weekend.
Is
Thank
he?
you,
Okay,
JC.
cool.
Cool.
I'm bringing my cheap brother.
I got a night vision camera at a thrift store the other day. They didn't know what it was.
Oh, well.
$35. Oh boy. Anyway, so Rich is saying that he wants to tell us about his experiences in Iraq with those goggles on. So Tracy's been talking on the show off and on tonight, and she said her husband is an Iraqi veteran, and he had some things happen with those goggles on.
Oh, wow.
Very cool. You
Well,
guys.
that's mine.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep.
That was one of my wife's Christmas presents. I've played with it like 4 times and it works very good. And it does record too, so it's nice.
Okay, I'm
Good.
going to pull a card for you, Mike. Just one. These are
Okay.
my shamanic medicine cards, and Blaine and I love these
Mm-hmm.
because they're so spot on,
Oh God, yes.
spot on, aren't they? Oh, what a night. Let's see. Okay. Oh, get where I can see it. Okay. This one is birth. Let me get it to where you can see it.
Okay.
Oh dear. Can you see it?
Yeah, well, a little bit.
Wait a minute. I'll get it. Oh heck. It's just a
That's
baby.
all right.
The baby's looking into the sky and there's a bird there. And birth, it means not just a burden. Like if you dream of
Mhm.
a baby, lots of times that could mean a burden. That's not what
Yeah.
this is. This means renewal. You're going to have a renewal of energy, of creativity, of passion. And, it's going to be fantastic for you. I think that it's going to mean maybe even a new project. And I know you've got so many that, it's like, oh, come on. But, you never know where a good idea is going to lead. So birth is about the death of an old and
Okay.
emergence of a new. It means, putting some things to bed, and then the transformation is going to slip in, and you're going to feel a burning passion to do something. It may take you a different direction. It may take you um, it, into certain rabbit holes, and I think that's kind of interesting because that was your show for so long.
Yeah.
But it's time for you to look at a way that you may have been things that may have given you a lot of grief before,
Mhm.
things that were bothering you, that you can just go ahead and wipe your hands of it, and your emotional reaction. That's enough of that. And it seems like maybe even someone was blaming you for something, and it wasn't your fault. And there's no point in you feeling angry or betrayed or miserable anymore. And you can just wipe your hands of that and look
Okay.
deeper. And you've got some beautiful things coming your way. Here's your poem. Let's see. Out with the old, in with the new. You're coming to the end of an era. It's a great fertile time for you, and you're going to see this as a new beginning and a great time to be spiritually aware. So here's your poem. Wake up, now is the time for you to rise. Take off the mask and drop the guise. Healing beckons, great the dawn. New life is awaiting to be born. So you've got something fun coming
Wow.
your way.
That all sounds wonderful.
Cool. Yeah.
So,
Hopefully something fantastic and profitable for you. And I'll be
I
thinking
certainly hope
about you.
so.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you, Lee.
Let's
I
see.
appreciate that.
I like to do one cards. They're
Mhm.
fun. If you do a whole thing of them, it gets to be too much.
Yeah.
Hello, Anne Marie. Thank you for joining us. Hello, April. You guys are a little late to the party, but we've still got 30 minutes left.
Never's been
You
here
guys,
for a while.
has she? Well, it just says hello.
Yeah,
Okay,
she's been
well,
here.
anyway.
April's been here a while.
Oh, yeah, she's been talking to me. You see what happens when I put on my glasses? Oh, well. So, do you guys have any more questions for Mike? Oh, shut up, Blaine. I'm going to tell you some more dad jokes.
Uh-oh.
Oh my goodness. No, Mike. One of the
Sorry,
questions I
April.
want to ask is all the research and stuff you've done. What has been like the most coolest thing you've did research on, and now you write books about it or you talk about?
Oh my gosh. There's a lot of things because I really like one, I mean going to places like Egypt
Oh,
and
yeah.
writing about that. Yeah, and I found that like over the years, a lot of the places, like historic places that I go to and things that I dig up, even if it's not doesn't pertain to whatever I'm working on at that particular point in time, I can come back around to it later. And so yeah, like when I'm talking about time travel, all that, and then the next book is going to be on stargates. Well, I first went out to Chaco Canyon, some years back, and getting photos of the petroglyphs, and of course, it's supposed to be aligned to the stars and all that sort of thing. But one of the things that's fascinating about that is some of the petroglyphs out there are specifically portals, and that the star people use those portals to come down here and of course pass knowledge to the indigenous people there that were in Chaco Canyon. And so it's like, okay, this is their version of the Stargate, and we see that same spiral pattern in other places throughout the world, including Egypt. So,
Yes.
so it's things like that where I find those connections and other areas of the world
Yep.
or other parts of my research that I can just blend it all together.
Well, Mike, I actually found one of those spirals down in the Bay of Mobile
Mm-hmm.
about July 4th weekend.
Oh,
I
okay.
was picking up different pieces of Native American pottery that was on the ground there and
Yeah.
different things. And I just happened, my shoe come untied. So I turned to my left to tie my shoe, and there's this big rock with the spirals. It's just beautiful.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
I look at my younger brother, and I'm like, Toby, do you know what that is? He's like, it looks like a big circle. I said, no, that symbol right there is all over the world.
Yep.
Everywhere has its symbol.
Absolutely.
It was pretty cool to actually see that petroglyph of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's a memory. I think when it comes to that spiral petroglyph and the symbols that we see all over the world, I believe it's a memory, and it goes all the way back to the pre-Diluvian civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria, and I think it dates all the way back to that.
I agree.
I know that some of the Reiki symbols are. I've noticed some of the symbols on these canyons. I've seen them in different buildings, especially in Jordan.
Yes.
The ones
Okay.
that I've
Yeah.
seen. But that's so crazy that we've been talking about petroglyphs, and there's some not far from here, and I'm taking the class for that, and we're going to go investigate. Would you like for us to make a video and show you what these petroglyphs look like?
Yeah.
Petroglyphs, because and you need to see the one that Blaine found.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
all
Yeah,
the things
videos,
around it.
photos, whatever. Yeah, I'd love to get any of that. Absolutely. Yeah, because
I
that's
think that
definitely gonna be a part of my next book. Yep.
Okay, so Christopher had a thought, and he just sent me. Hold on. Let me get him back
And
in
I
here.
briefly
Bud.
touch on it in the time travel book, but yeah.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, a
So
little bit. Yeah.
Christopher is asking, do aliens act as if they are? Go ahead, Christopher.
Do they? Can they act like paranormal shadow figures?
Yeah, some shadow figures are extraterrestrials, in a couple of different aspects. So one, some ETs that come down here, they're trying to hide themselves. They don't want to be visible, so they'll institute or implement a cloaking device. They don't quite understand the physiology of our eyes, and so it comes off to us more like a shadow, or some people report seeing like a shimmer type person, that sort of thing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
those are more familiar to people.
Yeah, and then like the ones that
Wouldn't
are
be as frightening.
right.
Yeah, there's that, and then ones that are traveling interdimensionally. Again, it's how is it coming into our plane of existence? It's not completely resonating, that sort of thing. So there's a couple different aspects where these are extraterrestrials. Yeah.
It's always fascinating me because I had a couple of times dreamed about being on ships. Not very often, most of the time, but paranormal related.
Okay.
But it that fascinated me.
Yeah, there's definitely a relationship between the two. Yep.
In the book that you published for me, the first story I wrote about is called the Man in Blue, and I describe him as it looked like glitter in a snow globe, not the snow, but the glitter. Now I'm wondering if he was an alien.
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, without being able to go back and, of course, investigate again. Yeah, but it makes you wonder. Yeah.
What Christopher was just saying is that your eyes can't see. He was saying something about what you can take in is a good bit different than what they actually may be. So therefore, you're just picking them up like you were saying in a shadow form or a shiny form. But he actually said to me, "How can I appear to you so that it will be tolerable to you?"
Yeah.
And that's not an exact word. So that you can stand it is what he said. 'Cause I was a child, and so I have that's a whole story. I don't want to go into all of that, but
no, I understand what you mean, because I had a hypnotic regression, and part of that session, this was a couple of years ago now, Part of that session for that particular hypnotic regression was to figure out that first shadow being, that first experience that I had. And what was interesting was that because we were actually able to communicate with the being itself,
What?
which was,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, which
Mhm.
was basically was a interdimensional
Wow.
being. Um, and what it had told us was that, for one, it wasn't trying to be seen, right? It thought
Mhm.
that I couldn't see it, and I of course reacted to it, and that's when it realized that, oh, I've scared the child. Um, and, I saw it as a shadow, but that's not what it really looked like. So you had kind of like three different things. It wasn't trying to be seen. I saw it as a shadow being, and its natural, bodily form and shape wasn't that anyway. So yeah, it's really, really fascinating.
That's cool. I'd really like
Yeah,
to
that
read
is
more
cool.
about that. Is it in one of your books?
It is. So I talk about that. It's in A Walk in the Shadows if you want to get more into like the shadow person side, but I also included it um, in Travels Through Time because I
Okay.
want to talk more about the dimensional aspect of all of that in that book.
Because he did this, the entity I'm talking about did come through a portal,
Hmm. Okay.
and he was shimmery, and he did speak without talking. Because I could hear him.
Yeah. No vocal cords. Yeah.
Hmm.
Different. Yeah. So you can hear it kind of telepathically. Yeah.
Bless you, babe.
Bless you.
So Roger,
Excuse me.
oh bless
Sorry.
you. So Roger is saying in their chat room, as a young child, he could see paper people. Roger, did you
Oh,
need to put paper
interesting.
people? And he's asking, what does that mean? Roger, do me a favor and help me out with what you mean by paper people. And let's ask Mike and see if between me, Blaine, Mike, and Christopher, maybe we can see
Yeah.
about that. Very
So
interesting.
I'm getting a notification here that my phone's about to die. So
Uh
hopefully
oh.
we'll get this in.
All
Yeah.
right. Um, paper people. Yeah, I don't know what that means. So
Oh, what if it means that like they're thin, like a
Very,
piece of paper? Like like
yeah.
girls used to make paper dolls, and
yeah.
maybe that's what he's describing, like
Well,
a paper
my
doll or something.
husband. Yeah, my husband told me when he was a kid. Okay, let me see if I can get this right. He was living in. He just moved into a house he loved, and he said that he looked over and he saw it looked like a man, but he was flat,
Hmm.
and he said that he was shaped like like Gumby, just real flat, square, and he was very two-dimensional. Wasn't really a three-dimensional
Hmm.
being,
Hmm.
and he kept seeing them, and they would turn and go into the wall. And
Interesting.
much later in life, we were married. In fact, we went back to the
Hmm.
house where he lived, and he was telling the lady, this was my room. And he looked, and there was a bathroom there. Now, right
Okay.
where the beings would go into the wall, they had cut a door and created a bathroom.
Hmm.
So he was
Interesting.
wondering if he was seeing people. He said
Using
that,
the restroom,
yeah, going into the
like a
restroom and coming
different
back
point in
out.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
and
that could
he
be a type of time slip.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was saying that the guy that was her husband could have been Fred Flintstone. Kind of square headed. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so you know, and okay, so Roger did elaborate. He said he saw flat people in the tree.
Interesting. Okay.
That's very interesting, Roger.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if you could send me a private message, a little more about what you saw, maybe I can, if there's any symbols in there, any descriptions, it could be symbolic. Just send it to me, and let's see if we can sort through that. I'll be happy to listen and see if I can help you. Oh, wow. So April is saying the shadow person I saw in Washington was accompanied by a crow that slammed into the glass sliding door at the same time at the same day.
Oh, wow.
That's
Okay.
crazy. Crows are known for being messengers.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So there may have been a message that was blocked that you didn't receive. And it might have been a good thing that you didn't get it. So
Hmm.
very interesting. Experiences are crazy. People, thanks, Roger. I'll be happy to look at that, and I'll pass it to Blaine. And we know a lot of people, and we'll sort around and see if we can figure this out. got my
I
attention.
know. I
Then
haven't gotten to see the flat people. I've gotten to see the paper people. Yeah, I've seen every other spirit form, but not the paper people. I'm
Matt said he
disappointed.
didn't think it was a person. He said
Yeah.
it didn't have any color to it. It looked
Mm,
like like a gray newspaper looking thing.
interesting.
And then he saw the guy going into the restroom and coming back out. He turned around. He said, "Oh my God, did I see an idea?" Because he said that was his hallway, and he'd read his book
Hmm.
in his bed, and that was his view. And he'd see this thing kind of coming down the hallway, and this guy had a problem with his hip, so he kind of did that little wobble, and
Interesting. Yeah, it sounds like a variation on a time slip, is what it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Something that
it's a
I just picked up on is the different dimensions. I'm wondering if some dimensions they're not in 3D or 4D. Maybe they're only in 2D. That's why they're coming through as flat people.
it's
Well,
possible.
there is, yeah. I mean, there is I forget the name of the book. I actually mention it in my book, Travels Through Time, is Flatland,
Mm.
which is basically the idea if you had um, a people, a civilization living in a two-dimensional world where everything is flat. If you have a 3D object coming into that two-dimensional world, you're only going to see it as 2D. So if you had like a
Yeah.
sphere that was dropping through into their world, you would
Hmm.
see it, very small and start to, widen up, widen up, widen up till it reached its apex as the, very center of that sphere came through.
Yeah.
And then as it continued to pass, it would get smaller and smaller and smaller again. It would just look like a circle then to them. But
Wow.
three-dimensionally, it was a sphere. So
Makes,
it sounds similar to that. Yeah.
yeah, it makes me wonder if like the flat earthers are actually seeing that 2 dimension where the world is flat to them. I don't know. Interesting though.
April said that she feels like she's missed a lot of communication. She can sense things, but
Mhm.
she's never been able to hear them.
Okay.
That's a
Interesting.
thought too.
Well, April, I told you I would work with you and help you develop your gifts. So you can talk to me or Lee. We've had them for a long, long time.
Yeah, whether we wanted them or not. Well, Blaine and I just recently wrote a book along with my mom and my husband. It's called "So You Think Your Kid has is it? So You Think Your Kid's Psychic," and it's a lot of fun. But it does address some very concerning things about having a child that has memories or thoughts, or
Mhm.
can uh, see things in manners that adults can't. They can either get information or they have knowledge. Uh, as an example, my son sat my husband down the last time he was deployed and let him know, this is what you need to do about your armor uh, helmet, and he wanted
Mhm.
to see all of the armor. And Matt put it on him. Of course, he could barely stand with it on. And he said, "Okay, well, this is a lot better than what I had." Things like that. And you see, you don't want to mess that kind of timing up
Yeah.
because he was really pouring his heart out to Matt. So I'm glad that I feel like we handled that quite well. But he was explaining about, bombing and what it's like. And he'll have a tendency to want to run, and don't run, get down, because when it bounces, the blast, and then it bounces up, and that's when you can really get hurt. And he told him to get down. And there's a lot of advice Elijah had that actually did help Matthew quite a bit. So, um, you know, either you turn it away and tell him it doesn't exist, or you enjoy it and get the benefit from it. Mike, if you
Well,
need to,
yeah, I think I probably should because I don't want to get cut off mid-sentence here. But
yeah,
yeah,
that sounds good.
yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and do the Native American blessing. I hope your phone will,
Okay.
stay open, and
Hmm.
then Blaine and I'll close the show after you, are able to go.
Okay. Sounds good.
This one is a really short blessing. I think it's quite beautiful. This is a Native American blessing of grace. May Mother Earth guide your feet. May Father Sky keep his arms around you. May God Father Sun warm your cold days. May God Mother Moon keep the glow in your heart. May the star nations light the way to the next destination, and the Great Spirit always keep you shielded from the pain. Blessings to you. Thank you, Mike.
Oh, that was wonderful. And thank you guys so much. Lee, it's always a
Thank
pleasure.
you, Mike.
Blaine and Christopher, pleasure to meet both of you.
Good
You
nice
too,
to
man.
meet you.
All right. Have a
Thank-
wonderful evening.
Good night.
Good night.
I learned a lot tonight.
Me too.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Good show. Thank you so much, Mike, for coming
Yeah,
on
that
once
was
again.
awesome. Okay, so Blaine, Christopher, we've got like maybe 15 minutes left. So I'm going to pull a card for each of you. Do you mind?
That's
I do
great.
not mind at all.
Okay, let me do a quick shout
I was
out.
going to ask you.
You were?
Instead, well, yeah, actually, can you do 3? Because
What happened to Blaine?
I don't know.
what happened?
What happened? You back?
I didn't do nothing.